Hello and welcome to another episode of the Altered States podcast with myself, Josh Gape, and Harry Williams. Today we dive into our routines for optimal performance, how to make sure you get a good night's sleep, the nature versus nurture debate, and how to create values and break negative thought patterns. Before we get into it, I've set up a discount code for listeners to the podcast for my website, apenutrition.co.uk. We sell a bunch of different health foods and supplements, including grass-fed beef organ capsules, grass-fed colostrum powder, mushroom extracts, and much more. If you're interested, head over to the website and type in AS10 at checkout, and that'll get you 10% off. Right, let's get into it. How's it going, mate? You alright?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Haven't actually been sleeping that well recently.
Really?
Really, yeah.
What do you think's caused that?
Straight with that analytical mind, that left brain. No,
We need to solve the problem.
I don't know. I've been getting up at, like, when it starts getting light, maybe like 4:30, and then struggling to get back off.
Yeah.
Little bit of a change in temperature, a bit hot feeling.
What time are you going to sleep?
10 latest, between 9 and 10.
So you're having 6 nights, because you don't sleep, like, knowing you because you used to pride yourself on you were a functioning human being on 4 to 5 hours sleep. Now you're telling me 6.5 isn't a good night's sleep.
No, I don't think it's... Do you think... 8 does seem to be the magic number.
I'm a big proponent of sleep, you know this.
Yeah, I know you're a big proponent of sleep, but how many hours are you looking at mean hours a night?
So I try to get 8 hours sleep.
But why is that? Is that because you just listen to the news?
I just think I feel better when I sleep more. I'd say the more the better, but just like with my I don't know, just when I wake up, this is my problem as well. Like when I wake up, I'm up and I'm about it, like I'm ready to go for the day.
But you never nap, do you?
Very rarely nap, which I used to nap a lot when I was a kid. Like get home from school.
It's quite passive aggressive. When I was a kid, as a child, when I used to do childish things like that.
Yeah, when I used to do childish things, this was my routine: was home from school, nap, massive bowl of cereal, training.
Do you want to specify what kind of cereal that was?
It was Crunchy Nut cornflakes with full fat milk and cream on the top. Have you tried that?
No, I haven't,
mate. It's good.
But it doesn't. You would not do that now. I couldn't imagine.
Right now, it would absolutely destroy me.
The days potentially.
Yeah, I'd be in. My stomach would be in agony. But yeah, back in the day, that was my go-to.
Yeah, I'm not sure what really I'm also a big proponent of sleep. I like going up to bed and you know that's it, and you can switch off, and all you need to focus on then is going to sleep and then getting up. And I don't know. I probably have actually got, because we were going to touch on routines and habits and stuff like that today. Probably have got a little bit of a bad habit of looking at a screen, I suppose, before going to sleep.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
What screen? Phone or TV?
A little bit of a screen sandwich there, I'd say. Sometimes.
Two screens at once.
2 screens at once, yeah. A little ice cream screen sandwich. But no, but I have got the yellow glasses. You know about the yellow glasses?
Yeah, the blue blockers.
Yeah, the blue blockers, yeah.
What brand have you got, just out of interest?
The one you told me to get.
Okay, yeah.
What is it called? It's called Optics.
No.
Is it called Optics?
No, yeah, Raw Optics. That's a good brand.
Yeah.
So you got the yellow lens, not the red lens.
They're yellow lensed.
Yeah, I think the way they do it is the red lens is the most intense one.
What, that stops the most?
Yeah, it stops the most spectrum, and then they've got an orange one which is less intense, and then the see-through one which is for day. You know, if you're using
my girlfriend uses the see-through ones very occasionally. To be fair, not so much now, but I feel maybe I should use the red ones.
So what's your do you have an evening routine?
Not really. What I try and do is we eat normally around 6:37. And then once I've eaten, I don't want to do any kind of work, admin stuff, emails, little bits and pieces that I have to do.
Yeah.
But that's really about it. And normally, apart from very recently, it normally works quite well. Watch some telly, chill out. Sometimes, very occasionally, do a stretch if I'm feeling tight.
Yeah.
And yeah, put my glasses on as I put the yellow glasses on.
And you'll be in the screen sandwich till 10 o'clock, and then it's
No.
screens off up to bed.
Probably like 9 o'clock. And then when I get in bed, so when I go upstairs to go to bed, I'm like, put the phone in airplane mode.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking I should leave that phone outside the room.
Yeah. Do you do anything like? Do you read or anything like that before bed?
No, not really. Not as much as I should do. If I'm reading a book, I'll read it until I finish it. But then I'm not like, I'm in no way an habitual reader.
You know, like Izzy with like, she's got like 30 books on the go at the moment.
No, I couldn't get not more than one book on the go.
Yeah, I completely the same. I couldn't read 2 books at once.
Yeah.
But I do have like a queue of books where I'm like, I finished one. And
there's definitely a queue. But it's just about tackling the next one. At the minute, the queue has not been attended to.
You've got to have a break, little recovery session.
I feel like the single stall that was open while the mile queue mounted at Ibiza Airport in the summer that I went to, and it wasn't. They should have definitely opened more desks.
Yeah,
strange segue tangent. But
Can I make some suggestions for your evening routine?
Yes.
So one of the massive things for me, and you touched on it with the glasses, is like the blue light, right?
Yeah.
So you get the idea behind the blue light is that our brains can't tell the difference, or our eyes, which are part of our brain, can't tell the difference between the blue light on a TV or a phone or a laptop and the light of the sun.
Right.
So when you're watching the TV or your phone without the blue light blockers on, it's telling your brain that the sun's still up. So, and then what happens is naturally, before TVs and all that sort of stuff, when the sun went down, and obviously we didn't have access to blue lights, then your brain starts releasing melatonin, which is a neurotransmitter which helps us go to sleep. So that's the beauty of the blue light blockers, to like help you still produce that, to help your body naturally go to sleep, even when you're watching TV or whatever. But what I find personally is that with the phone, it's less about the blue light for me, and it's more about the ag of the shit that's going on the phone that like hypes me up. Like there's nothing worse than I'm like, right, I put my phone on airplane mode at like 8 o'clock or whatever, and then I'm doing my, just going about my business, and then I'll just check it once before bed. I'll open it, it'll be like 9:30, it'll be like customer going, my item hasn't turned up, it's been 3 weeks. I'm like, for fuck's sake. And then like my cortisol's just spiked, and I'm like, oh right, okay, I'm not going to sleep well. Not that generally messed me up, but it's just like an example.
Is that the sole reason?
Yeah, like for me, the main reason for not like checking devices is like when I get like an aggy email or something before I'm going to sleep, then my mind's on that. I'm not like chilling out.
Yeah, because I pride myself on requiring minimal sleep. Yeah. That's a badge of honour of mine. And I also, I'm quite a light sleeper, so I don't feel, but I don't know, maybe I should take more responsibility into my hands. I think that what we're told is that we are a lot less spongy. Do you know what I mean by spongy? Than we actually are?
No, break that down for me, please, mate.
Like a sponge.
What, as in like we absorb?
As in we absorb everything. So everything we see, be it images or content, conversations you've had, the day you've had, all those things you absorb it in like a sponge.
Yeah.
Comme ci, comme ça. Is that?
Yeah, I agree.
We're told that it doesn't. Is that it really isn't the case, or it's not that we're not told it. It's that it just isn't seen as a thing, a big deal, because people's general, like the way they generally go about stuff is they watch TV till they go to sleep, and then when they get in bed they watch more TV, or they go on their phone. So it's not seen as it's not generally highlighted as something people shouldn't be doing. Yeah.
Well, so I've got a good practice for this actually. So recently I've been doing just before bed, super simple. Well, not just before bed, but like in the evening, like my evening wind down period, I've been doing 10 minutes of box breathing. So like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds hold, 5 seconds out, 5 second hold. And I just set the timer on my phone for 10 minutes and do that. And then like watch. The whole idea is to like focus on your breath the whole time, but obviously thoughts come up, right? So you think about, whatever, and you end up having these thoughts. And I always find that like if I'm watching So a little bit of a segue here, but I've started watching The Sopranos on your recommendation.
Very good.
Very good. Yeah, real good recommendation. I'm massively enjoying it. But I'll watch Sopranos. Say I start watching at like 8 o'clock, and then I'll do my box breathing at say 10, and like guaranteed coming up in that 10 minutes is like I'll be thinking about Tony Soprano like shooting someone. And I'll find myself, I'll be like, I've gone through a couple of cycles of breathing, and I'll be like thinking about that. So it's mad, like even though we think maybe, oh, we stop watching TV and that's it, just done. It's like it is running in your subconscious, and like anyone like give that a go and see what comes up. For you.
Do you want to explain what how the thoughts work with the box breathing?
So what the like concept behind it?
The concept behind it and how it runs and what it actually is.
So, so the box breathing, the practice itself is that. So it's a box because you're breathing. You're doing 4 types of breath: in, hold, out, hold, and you're doing them for the same length of time. So it's 5 seconds in, hold, 5 seconds, out, 5 seconds, hold on the out breath for 5 seconds. So that's the box. That's the practice in its essence. And then the whole idea behind why I'm doing it at the moment is to like watch what thoughts come up and to learn how to break negative thought patterns. So like I categorize thoughts into 3 different sections. So like I'll have positive thoughts, neutral thoughts, and negative thoughts. So when I catch myself having a positive or neutral thought, the whole idea is just to go back to your breath. But then if you catch yourself having a negative thought, so for example, thinking about, emails or whatever before bed, or thinking about Tony Soprano murdering someone, the whole idea is just to say like, you pick like a trigger. So for example, like I've got this is the one I'm using at the moment. Yeah. And you just say I've got this, and then you go back to the breathing. And the idea is you train yourself to catch yourself having negative thoughts in day-to-day life. And then when you catch yourself having them just generally, then use the same practice. Say I got this, and you move, because that sort of thought isn't serving you, right? Like why are
What's the point?
What's the point of having that thought? Or what's the point of the practice?
What's the point of having that thought?
Yeah, exactly. Like think about how much stuff you worry about, which never materializes. Oh, I'm worried. Oh, am I going to get? You think you ran a speed camera or whatever. Like how many times that week do you think comes up in your mind? You're like, oh, am I going to get a 70 quid fine here? I'm going to get 3 points on my license. I'm going to have to go do one of those courses. And you're thinking about all this stuff, and then it just transpires you never get a fine.
When that stuff, but I don't know, but you say that, but when that stuff does come bite you in the arse, it is irritating.
Yeah.
Because I actually recently had to take out on my insurance, as you know, reversed into a car quite hard, and it did quite a lot of damage by the sounds of things.
It didn't look bad.
Yeah, no, it didn't look bad, no, but
you had to fully cough up for that, did you?
Yeah, but I asked around, and I was like, is this seems a little bit expensive, and they said, with these newer cars, it is the work is more, and the insurance person was like, how many points have you got on your license? And I said, 6. And she said, it doesn't say you've had 6. And I was like, it's not. You're supposed to report.
She was like, I'll just log those on you now.
You're supposed to report it, apparently.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like, I just don't like bureaucrats.
Oh, so you're supposed to, if you get points, you're supposed to tell your insurance so they can ramp it up. Just rub some salt into that wound.
Don't think I'll be doing that. But it's just bureaucracy. Layers and layers of bureaucracy.
Yeah, man.
And that does appear to be what... Sorry, it's a real tangent from what we were saying. Yeah. There is so many things now for people to worry about. It seems like it's almost created for that purpose, in a way.
Yeah.
So you're never like a fully rested state. You're always... You need to worry about this. What about if this happens? What about if your insurance goes up?
Yeah.
Insurance is a mad thing, mate. This is the first time I've ever used my insurance.
Yeah.
Touch wood. And I'm insured out my ear rolls, mate. I've got literally insurance coming out of every orifice.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're friends with Craig Dowsett. The man, just every insurance under the
well
sun.
insured, and then the one time you have to tell, I'm really, really considering it. Should I do this? Is this a good idea? It's like, boy, shelling out so much for it, may as well like occasionally use it.
Yeah, it's mad though, but that's the thing. Like, so bringing it back to the breath, it's like that. So the idea is once you do that practice, you get better at being able to detach from those thoughts. Because similarly, even if it's something which materializes, like with your thing, what's the point? Like you just pay the money or you take out the insurance, you do it, Like, why do you need to tell yourself this story of like, oh, so shit, why did that happen to me, blah blah blah, all that stuff. You can just go, I've got this, and just let the thought go.
And normally when the stuff happens, it's rarely as bad, anywhere near as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it normally passes a lot quicker as well.
Yeah. We always like I think that's like the ancestral view of it, right? Like in years gone by, everything's always been like, consequences for things have generally been way more dire, like in years gone than they are today. Like now we're looking at fines and stuff. In the past, you know, you might have like died or, you know, whatever. It's like much bigger.
Lost a limb, a lot of limbs lost back then.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of lost limbs. So we over exaggerate. Our responses are like over exaggerated because we're like worried about like our safety, but often, you know, in reality we're not dealing with safety.
Well, you think on a fundamental level it's because we're worried about our safety, and that's the way we're wired.
Yeah.
Same as animals, or do you feel there's some sort of different, I suppose, sanctity to the human mind?
So there's a definite difference because and there's an amazing book on this called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert Sapolsky, I think his name is.
Is it because of like a pH thing in the microbiome?
No, it's because they're not like what's the word, like chronic worriers, right?
Oh right, yeah.
You know, a zebra gets attacked by an animal and they escape, and we said this last week with James, they just shudder it off and that's it. They're fine. They're chilling. They're just eating grass. 5 minutes later, a human, if they got attacked by another human, they go home. They're like, oh, I can't believe that guy attacked me.
Your legs going like,
telling everyone about it. You know, you phone your mum. Like, oh, this guy just attacked me in the supermarket. You just like, it's just, and then you just carry that angst with you for like weeks. Some people carry it with them for the rest of their life. They're like,
yeah, that is true.
3 years later, like something will happen. They'll go, oh, that happened to me.
The car
3 years ago.
backfires and they think someone's having at them with a sawn-off shotgun.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
What is this shuddering thing? We spoke about that, the shuddering thing.
Yeah,
because that's a practice you've recently adopted. Is the
shaking,
which Elliot Hulse spoke about. I think I spoke to you about this maybe 10 years ago, and you laughed at me.
yeah. Like, what's that woo
what's that
hippie
stupid
bullshit?
hippie?
Little did I know, 5 years later, I'm going to be shaking every morning.
Do you want to
elaborate on it?
Yeah, elaborate.
Yeah, so basically it's exactly that concept. It's like we have trapped energy in our body. And so this is quite a cool thing with sleep, right? So we have trapped energy in our body, and like with animals, when they have trapped energy, that's why that zebra like shake. And you can watch any nature program on fire. They do that thing, right? And as human beings, we don't do that, but they do that for a reason. It's because they're shaking the energy out of their nervous system, and I now just do that. I just shake it out of my nervous system when I feel like something happens, and I do it as like a general practice every morning where like I will shake my body for a few minutes. And interestingly, so I've been doing, so my morning thing at the moment is like I get up and I do, first thing I'll do is breath work, and I was doing, and this was just me being like not thought through in my practice, I was doing like sympathetic breath work. So I was thinking it's like the morning I need to get up for the day, so I was doing like Wim Hof style breath work, like hype my body up, because I'm like, right, it's the morning, I need to get up and go. But like naturally I'm like very get up and go anyway, and I was just making myself like too hyped for the day. I was like over enthusiastic. So I started doing like parasympathetic stuff, so like more like longer exhales and all that sort of stuff, like chill out at the start of the day before the shaking. And I've been doing that for like 3 weeks now, and my sleep's got so much better.
Just from starting the day like that?
Yeah, well, no, so, and then I've been doing the box breathing in the evening and doing that stuff as well. But I think what has happened is just my nervous system has generally calmed down from doing the like breath work. And like it's taken 3 weeks, and after 3 weeks I've started noticing my sleep's getting better. Yeah. I think my general just stress levels just decrease because of the practices. And
because I think with this kind of stuff, that's why it's probably so it's so good to have it as an habitual thing.
Yeah,
is because if you do it once, you probably won't feel any kind of difference. It's the build up of doing, as with most stuff, it's the build up of it over a long period of time.
Yeah, and
finding yourself in that good routine of doing it twice a day, every day.
Yeah,
and then you'll see changes.
Yeah,
and I think because I'm similar. I enjoy the breath work side of things more.
Yeah,
because a lot of the stuff, like imagine you're in a in a cave and there's an animal that comes out, and I find it occasionally quite good, and I do enjoy it, and I think it is quite good to get deep like that, but it's quite difficult. And I actually think for a lot of guys, typically, I don't want to generalise, a lot of guys typically find that kind of stuff harder, maybe because it's more imaginative based, maybe more creative.
Yeah.
Whereas for a lot of people, males, it's better just to do something you can do. Like, that's why Wim Hof, I think, was so popular, because it's very prescriptive and you feel a difference after you do it.
Yeah. So you mean like breath work as opposed to meditation?
I'd say so, yeah, or like traditional meditation, imagination based stuff. You have to think about things, be creative. With breath work, you do the breath work, you feel the difference.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, especially guys, I think that's probably, it works better, in my opinion, but that's only like me surmising on it and stuff like that. If people were to choose one of the things to do, that's what I would probably recommend, or does work better for me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think with a lot of guys, like, they find the thought of like meditating just like no, I wouldn't do it. And then, but like with the breath work, like you said, there's like very much like an immediate response, especially when you're doing like prolonged exhales. So like, say for example, you inhale for 4, exhale for 8. That like imitates a sigh and naturally calms the nervous system down. Do that for 10 minutes, you finish, you feel chilled out. It's like really tangible. It's like drinking a coffee. You drink a coffee, and as long as you haven't like fried your what's it called?
Adrenal.
Your adrenals, yeah, you feel that. You feel that out the other side of the coffee.
Have you fried your adrenals?
I'm stopping coffee, man. I'm stopping. So I've reduced. So I was drinking 2 cups a day. I've now reduced to 1 cup a day, and I'm gonna stop entirely.
Forever?
No, not. I think I'm gonna have a month off.
Yeah, because I did 3 weeks after we spoke with Mo.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't feel I didn't feel like it was really taken away from anything at the end of it. Like, I didn't feel hard. I didn't find it that difficult to do it. I don't feel like I'm hooked on it.
Yeah.
And I just feel it added to made me feel better.
Yeah.
So maybe it's, I don't know.
I'm just doing it more of like a mental challenge. Like I don't necessarily think like a lot of people in the health world will be like, coffee's the devil, like Bobby Boucher's mum. But I don't think that. Like I really like coffee, and
yeah, I know you love
I don't
coffee.
see a problem
Black
with it.
coffee,
but
large cup of.
Yeah, of course. But I just don't want to. Like, I want to just do it as a challenge. Like, can I do it? And I'm interested to see how it impacts my sleep as well. If my sleep gets better without drinking
Will you
coffee.
have a different kind of stimulant in the morning, like was it matcha?
Yeah, so I might still do the matcha with like lion's mane, cordyceps,
available
MCT.
at A Nutrition.
Can't help myself every year.
Yeah. Organic.
Yeah,
not homegrown.
All organic. Of course. Yeah, I think I'll still do that in the morning. I think that's one of the things about breaking habits for me anyway that I found is like, unless you give yourself, like, make it as easy for yourself as possible. Like, I've got that association of getting up and like after when I sit down at my desk having a hot drink, like even if I replace the coffee with like a cup of tea or whatever, like a herbal tea or whether I do it with the matcha, then it's just giving your brain something. So at least you're still drinking something. You're not like thinking about.
I wonder if that's what, because it's a weird thing I've been watching is like videos of like addicts, like heroin addicts and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Talking about their experience, and a lot of them say that obviously the feeling of taking heroin was a lot about the feeling of being utterly content. That's what a lot of them say, and that seems to be like a common theme. But it was the ritual of creating, of doing the act, which was sometimes very sordid acts, in order to buy the heroin, then taking away to a spot, creating the syringe, and then doing it.
Yeah.
And they almost said that became as addictive as the feeling of taking heroin itself. So I think rituals to people there's something about the routine nature of it that the mind likes.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I think that's like one of the, well, like once you get into a groove with something, how hard is it to do that first week when you're like, all right, okay, every evening I'm going to turn the TV off at 8:30 and do some breath work and read a book. Like for the first however long, that's like, it's hard. Like you've got to motivate yourself to do it. You've got to be real disciplined. But then after X amount of time, then it's hard not to do it. You know what I mean? We just get it as we're like creatures of routine, creatures of habit, human beings.
Just quickly just touching on Sopranos.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? You like it? Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's class, man. It's really good.
I feel that it opened up the whole Well, actually, I'm stealing this. I'm plagiarising this information blatantly, but I'll pass it off as my own.
Yeah.
Tony Soprano was the first anti-hero main protagonist of a show.
Really?
Yeah, that's what this video, which I'm saying is my information, said. Because afterwards came, and you can hear Bryan Cranston say this who played Walter White in an interview. He says that without Tony Soprano, Walter White never would have existed.
Yeah.
Because he does stuff in it which before HBO, I think it's HBO, right?
Yeah.
They said that you can't, the stuff you want him to do, you can't do because he's the main character of the show and he's doing all this like really nefarious, dark shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, that's the way we want to run it. We want it to be like a real life account. And after all that, you know, Breaking Bad came. And I think Breaking Bad is probably my favourite show ever.
It's very good.
I think it's very, very good, which is quite weird because I think it is actually, it's more Marmite as a show than I thought it was universally loved.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I actually loved it so much. I bought the DVDs from my old man back in the day, and he loved it as well. But
Yeah.
We've got very similar TV and film taste. But yeah, I don't know. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about it. But like, it's so old now. You don't really see. It doesn't really come up in conversation. If you're like, oh, what good series? Like, it's not as mentioned as much. Like,
It seems like those shows is quite. And you can watch it with the Sopranos, but they get dated quite quickly because they're very like contemporary programs.
Yeah.
I remember we would have been like early 20s when they were the final series of it were coming out.
Yeah.
Probably later, probably like 18 to 21 was when it was in its heyday. And did you watch it week on week by week, Breaking Bad?
No. I watched it like it was all out, and then I found out about it later and did the classic, you know, watched like 10
Binged.
episodes a day. Yeah. Until I was just hated myself and wanted it to end.
It's a weird when you're binge watching something.
Yeah.
You just reach a point like, well, this is just my life. Like, you stop making yourself feel bad about it.
Yeah.
You're 6 episodes in, and you're like, I've already done 6. May as well just do 10 today.
Mate,
Stop beating myself up because this is me now. I'm a binge watcher.
I got like that with Vikings. I was like, I just needed it to be over. Like I needed to know what happened, but I just wanted to be. And I just felt like it was a weight off my shoulders when I watched that final episode. It was a weird feeling.
I haven't watched all of Vikings.
Yeah,
I haven't. It got way too samey for me.
We'll leave it there. I'm so good. I'm bad with spoilers. But coming back to Tony Soprano, like, so why do you think he was such a popular character, even though he was nefarious? I reckon it's because, like, obviously you see the behind the scenes, right? You see him like being nice to his kids, and you see all that sort of stuff. But he's just like authentic in himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like who he is, and he doesn't really care that he's like this bad guy. Like he's himself. And I think people can really get on the page with that. Like you see it with UFC fighters a lot. Like a lot of the times, like you get guys that are like not exactly the nicest guy in the world, but people like him way more than the nice guys
who aren't authentic.
Yeah, but they're just able to be authentic on camera, and I think that goes a long way.
I'm not sure, but did you like Walter White at the end of Breaking Bad?
So you're jogging my memory now. I can't really remember, to be honest. Yeah, I can't remember. Whether you liked him or not. Yeah,
because I'd gone off him really as a show went on. Maybe you were. I don't know how far you're into The Sopranos.
Oh, so I haven't even finished the first season.
Oh right. Oh okay. But yeah, with all those. I think that if you warm to them as a viewer, it is because they're being authentic, and maybe you can relate to yourself in. People can probably a lot easily relate to someone who isn't perfect.
Yeah,
and I do feel that's why, up to a point, McGregor garnered such a big following because people could see themselves in him, man. Like he was a guy who hadn't come from much and was real hard working, and he built himself up to just being an absolute mogul.
Yeah,
and people see that, they want that road to, you know.
Yes, inspiring,
I find it hard
right?
because I'm actually a big Khabib fan now.
Yeah,
but I didn't find him hard. I found it hard to relate to him, I suppose, as a viewer when I watched him.
Yeah,
because his upbringing's so alien to mine. His old man was some wrestling guy. Just had him wrestling bears, running around the mountains, and I find it pretty cool, like Jesus. But I don't see any of myself in him. It's quite hard. You have to have a very niche upbringing to see any of yourself in him, really.
Well, unless you're from Dagestan.
Yeah, unless you're from Dagestan, where they all seem to be doing that.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man, for sure. I think the language barrier with Khabib obviously doesn't help as well. He can't speak.
He speaks beautiful English. Apparently speaks 4 languages.
Really. Also about Khabib, side note, but do you know he's now become a professional football player? in wherever he's from. Dagestan, yeah.
Through?
I don't know, from one of the teams over there. This is
Where'd you hear that?
This was on Rogan and Lex Friedman podcast.
Course.
Yeah, they were chatting about it. So I don't know if it's fake news, but it's come out of
I think
Rogan's
he's really, really, really popular in Russia.
Yeah,
and obviously Dagestan.
Right, he's terrible at football, but they've just like some team have signed him. He's starting week in, week out.
I imagine he would be fit though. It'd be hard to, if you had him on the.
He'd be tenacious.
Left back, he'd be very tenacious. He'd keep working.
And if a scrap kicked off as well, like he'd be dangerous.
A real enforcer on the pitch out there.
Yeah,
but no, I think it definitely opened the door for those shows like that.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, they're good.
Mate, I tell you what, another side note as well, but like, have you seen the film I Care a Lot?
No.
Oh, you need to watch it. There's never, the main character on that is a woman, and she's just so detestable as like, the character she plays. Like, I've never felt so much like hatred for someone. Obviously she's playing it, like completely playing a role, but I think it's quite amazing how people can do that. Like, she's probably nothing like that in real life.
She known as a detestable character.
Yeah, in it, like what she does, her business is like horrendous. What she goes.
Is it a dark film?
No, it's not. It's actually really funny.
I Care
it's
a Lot.
Brilliant film. Yeah, it's really good. I recommend that to anyone.
Yeah, but on this, so let's break. Do you think people are born bad or good?
Right, so I've thought about this, mate, the nature over nurture argument, and I think, like, obviously it's a combination of both things, but going a deeper level, like, I fully believe in reincarnation. So, like, could it necessarily be that the what you'd expect to be nature is actually just nurture from previous lives? This is we're going like deep down a rabbit hole.
Let's go deep down the rabbit hole. Let's just take a little jaunt down the rabbit hole.
But yeah, mate, I think it's fully like both. Like, you see it. Like, I got two goddaughters, and like you can see in them as they grew up, like they've got very distinct personalities, and like, well, it's my opinion that those personalities they had to some extent were inherent. So then you've got like the nature angle, but then of course, like, I fully believe in nurture. Like we were talking about earlier with the people, you know, someone might get shot at or whatever, you know, that example you gave, and then every time a car backfires, they jump.
They think, same thing.
That's nurture, right? That's something that's happened to them in their life,
but
then they're carrying with them and just change their character.
But then the question is, were they always meant to have that experience?
Yeah, well,
that's the one that bakes my noodle.
Yeah,
because for the most part, you didn't ever play computer games, did you?
I've played some computer games.
Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
No, but go on. I know what it is.
So say you get a character and you want it to be an elf hunter.
Yeah, go on.
And you get given a certain list of.
It's reminding me of the story with the tapestries. Now it's all starting to make sense.
This is just another piece of the jigsaw, brother. It's another piece of the jigsaw.
Yeah, go on. You're an elf.
Right, you're an elf hunter. I'm an dark elf hunter. Yeah. Fighting for the Legion or whatever they're called. But you have a certain list of attributes you need to have, and a certain probably bracket in which your strength can go up to your speed and your dexterity.
Yeah.
So you say you start on like a low portion for all of them, you have a certain level you can get up to for each.
Yeah.
So I feel almost in a way, humans have a natural propensity to go towards certain things. Yeah. So say you're born, your nature is that you can go very easily up certain roads and paths.
Yeah.
So there are some people that are really wired for aggression, and whatever situation they found themselves in, they'd probably always end up with aggressive tendencies.
Yeah. But the extent of those tendencies depends on
the environment potentially. But then the question that really brings that in is, if there is, like, say, a source or a creator or a god, and they know everything, do you have a choice of where you go? Like, if your soul is getting incarnated at this original point, and it knows what it needs to go through and where it's going to end up at the end of that road, do you ever have a choice of the things that you do or the situations you put in, or were you always meant to go through that?
So we're talking about free will now.
We're talking about free will.
Mate, it's really interesting. So I think my answer is, to an extent, we have free will, right? So I think, again, and this goes back to the like many lives theory, right? So I think we've got many lives, and I think we've got. Oh God, we're going deep up. We're going deep down the rabbit hole.
Let's just go.
We've got.
Let's go with it.
We've got. I believe we have lessons to learn as human beings, and we contract the challenges we've got to go through in life to learn those lessons, and then we might be pulled towards something, but if we don't end up learning that lesson in this lifetime, I think it will just be presented to us in another way in another lifetime. That's my belief.
So if you're given like objectives within the life that you have to go through. If you don't learn from that and you don't take the lessons that probably continually get presented to you, you're just going to have to go through it again in another cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
But does that go across? Do you reckon you go like animals could become like a plant? Tree?
I don't know, mate. We're going into like the consciousness discussion, like how much consciousness. No, I don't. My gut instinct on that is no, I don't.
Human
think so.
to human.
Yeah, I think humans, just because we've got way more free will, I think, than animals.
But this is the thing that I find that neither of us have a fucking clue.
Yeah,
and
of course.
I don't have a clue, you don't have a clue. And I always get a bit wary of people who claim to have all the answers.
Yeah.
People who say, like, no, this is the way, this is exactly what's happening, that I know this stuff. I'm like, well, I think you probably know less than me. And I'm saying I literally haven't got a foggiest.
Yeah.
But one thing I don't think, and I have a real strong inclination, is I don't think we're all just these, like, meat sacks running around the earth with the detached things with nothing in behind it. I feel there's something in behind the mind that we all have. Something, and I don't know what it is, connects human minds to each other. Yeah. Whether that's consciousness or something else, but there is something there. And to deny that is just, I just don't believe it. And I'd like really, with my blood and guts, don't believe it.
Yeah, well, I think anyone that's... So my point, and I might be wrong here, it'd be interesting to see what other people think, but I just think the more deeply you think on that, the more you end up inevitably thinking the way that you think. Like, I don't understand how, exactly the same as what you're saying, like people can just think, oh, we're here, it's all like by chance, and when we just die, it's just blackness and that's it, you're done. But a lot of people think that. I think, would you say the majority of people think that one?
I think so, especially definitely in Western culture.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke to a doctor, not recently, but fairly recently, who is of that belief.
Yeah. Very
secular. When you're gone, you're gone. And I think he's been very desensitized to death, obviously, because you're working in a hospital the whole time.
Uh-huh.
But I said to him, I was like, well, why not just do all these heinous crimes then? If that's, without having this kind of metaphysical foundation to society, there is no reason, if you don't get caught, to not do heinous shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you will in no way pay for that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think, one, that's a good way to base society. There should be some moral level to society.
Yeah.
It can't just be, if it feels good, do it. And if you can get away with it, get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't base society on that, can you? Which seems to be like, actually quite like people's way of thinking, a lot faster people's way of thinking. I just don't think that there's something, the fact that we can conceive all this mad stuff different to anything else on the planet is, for me, proof that there's something else going on.
Yeah, and just the fact that we're here in the first place, right? Like, we're on a massive rock, which is apparently like spinning through space.
Don't get no, Josh.
A ridiculous speed.
Not ready for that one yet.
From monkeys, apparently, right? And then, again, it's like you're saying apparently, and people are like, "What the fuck is he on about?" But like, no one knows.
Everyone knows we came from monkeys.
But it's like, it's a miracle, right? Like, we're here. The fact that we're here doing this, we've got computers and phones. We can phone other people. It's like, I just find it fascinating that it can just be. This can all sort of be like just come from the Big Bang. Like, I feel like there's just got to be something more to it.
Yeah, but have you seen a film We Need to Talk About, Kevin?
No, but I recognise the title.
Yeah, which I think we've spoken about. There's a guy, I'll try and... There's spoilers ahead about... Don't listen if you haven't seen his film, skip to like 2 minutes on. But there's a lad basically who he commits a real serious crime, and that's like getting played back through his mother's perspective after the fact. So it's like people like vandalising a house, and society's like real... He basically is a school shooter.
Yeah.
And it's filmed after the fact of people like being real standoffish with her, people being like calling her names, vandalising her house, and then it flashes back through the life of this kid being a baby and a child growing up and a teenager, and he was a real difficult child, and she didn't have a very maternal instinct, so she let him get away with stuff, but he was also clearly a psychopathic kid.
Yeah.
And was it her mothering, or was it his just being a complete weirdo? But quite intelligent as well. It's like classic psychopathic tendencies that led him to do this act.
Yeah, okay.
And that's the whole question. It was pretty interesting. It's a dark film, mine. Very dark.
It sounds it.
Yeah. But then I find that, say you have a kid, you're lucky enough to have children, or lucky enough to have kids, and you can tell they've got this kid's, like there's something not right with them. It's a very hard thing if it's a real bedrock of their character to probably, like, I don't know, parent out of them.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, so do you think that, well, is your opinion that she could have done something different and that it wouldn't have ended up that way, or do you think it was inevitable?
Like, I would say leaning more towards the inevitable thing, that he would always have found ways in which to do something like that.
Yeah.
However, I do think if I had a kid that was acting like that, I'd probably think military school would be like be the next course of action.
Yeah.
Because that's military school seems to be the place where children go if they're really acting up.
It straightens some people out, that's for sure. Yeah.
Do they have them in England?
Yeah. Well, they have like Borstals, don't they? Like schools.
Borstal's not, but sure, that's not been around for 34 years.
They must have schools for like
Borstal.
They must have school for like kids that are like real.
Film. With Ray Winston.
Yeah. Oh,
Scum.
That's
dog.
a savage film.
Yeah.
But is that not the name for the schools? Or
I think it used to be. I think when old Thatcher went out of power,
yeah, but they must have
like
things
like
like
juvenile hall and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Like they have prison for kids, right? Don't they?
Yeah, I think they have
similar sort of that sort of thing, right?
But that's a whole other discussion. Is like, do these punitive measures like actually sort anyone out? From what I can gather, watching many documentaries, people go to these prisons and there seems to be really, really heinous places.
Well, and it's like a really high. I'm not sure what the number is, but like it's a real high likelihood that people get recommitted, right? Once they're in the prison system, then it's like they come out and they end up just going back to prison. And then you hear stories about people that have been in prison their whole lives, and then they come out of prison and they like don't know how to act again, like creatures of habit. Like they used to being in prison, a lot of them just want to go back into prison because that's what they used to.
But it's wild, ain't it, that you want there's comfort in like captivity.
Yeah.
If you let like a tiger out of a cage into the jungle and just get eaten by, what would eat it? What would eat that?
What you think if you took a tiger? Yeah, because
but they all say that. That's what they say about Tiger King, is like you can't release these tigers back into the wild because they'll get just basically jacked up by the other tiger. Would it be the other tigers?
What's his name? The Tiger King. What was his name? Joe Exotic. Is it? Are these Joe Exotic's words? He's like, you can't release them back into the wild. They got to stay here now.
They need to stay on this farm, this tiger farm.
They go back into the wild. They're going to get eaten by parrots and all sorts. Pecked to death.
I did think that. These things are apex predators.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would eat them would probably be another tiger.
Yeah, their instincts are strong, man. I don't know. I'd be interested to, like, I'm sure obviously they've done studies and shit on that, and they've like done it in practice. Whether that's
what's the story? They let him out of the sack straight in, just eaten by another
hippo,
apex predator. Hippo comes out straight out of the river, eats him, and drags him back in.
You can just smell that he's like a zoo tiger.
The thing that I find mad is ligers. You ever seen ligers?
Yeah.
And they always end up huge.
Yeah.
There must be something that when they combine the DNA of a tiger and a lion, it makes it jumbo-sized.
Yeah. And apparently they can't breed. Again, this might be complete fake news, but I've heard this somewhere. Like ligers can't breed with other ligers to make more ligers.
So the liger is the end of the dynasty, the genetic line.
And that's not... We need this again. We need Lewis to be able to look...
Yeah, I need some sort of zoologist. If there is a zookeeper or a park ranger, Yogi Bear, it'd be good to have you on to ask you these questions.
Yeah, we can get Alec back on as well. Talk about the alligators and the snakes.
But, no,
Mate,
are people born bad?
It's
Mate,
a
it's
really,
man.
really interesting question, like super interesting question. And I've heard people talk about it. Like, it's a guy that I follow, Carl Kingsbury.
Very good podcast. Very good.
Do you listen to his podcast as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I really like the way I listen to his solo cast. I'm not like an avid listener, but I've definitely listened to some of them. Very good.
Yeah, his solo casts are really good. But he talks about like how he believes that like children are here like to be our greatest teachers type thing. So like almost the child's there to teach the parents lessons. So like, I don't know, maybe it's potentially like when the child of that school shooter was born, it's like looking at the mother and like what lesson did she have to learn by like raising
from the
him.
kid,
and maybe by her learning that lesson, it would have led him down a different path.
And that could be the whole reincarnation soul discussion. Is from a previous life you've had, you are then inserted into a reality to treat someone else who needs to have a lesson which you could accommodate for them.
Yeah.
So the whole thing could be like real synergistic, or not synergistic probably isn't a word.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There could be like a kind of psychic, cosmic synergy to everything, where when one consciousness goes out of existence, it gets reinserted into another one because someone else needs to learn a lesson that you could teach them and you also need to learn.
Yeah.
But have you ever like met someone when you were at school maybe who's just a bad egg? And you're like, this guy or girl there's just something not.
Yeah, well, there was quite a few guys at my school, I suppose, that were mayhem causers, for lack of a better term. But I think it's difficult, innit? It's really difficult to know what someone's background is, and that's something definitely I've learned as growing up. It's like empathy for other people. Often, when you see someone acting a certain way, and you just think, "Oh, that guy's a dick," like often you'll think that, but then actually there's usually a story behind that, and there's a reason they act that way. Maybe someone acts with loads of bravado, but it actually comes from like a massive insecurity they hold, and that would, a lot of the time they say that the age of 0 to 7 is like where you can be, your subconscious is like molded. So it might be experiences they've had at that age which has made them,
which you don't even remember.
Yeah, which they don't even, like a lot of the time it'll be stuff they don't consciously remember, and then you could even go to the past life stuff. It might be something that's happened to them in a previous
before
life.
The age of 0, before they're out of the. But do you think you could practice that empathy for everyone, no matter what they're acting like?
Obviously, it's like, it is a practice, right? And I think there's like lines that people cross, and there's like boundaries, and you've got to have boundaries in your own mind of like how much leeway you give people. But at the same time, like, I think it is important thing to do is to practice empathy for others.
Because empathy, I think you gave me a definition, was like, empathy is sympathy without experience. Did you say that to me?
No, that's not me, but yeah.
Well, maybe that's me. What?
It's an original thought.
Yeah, maybe that's yeah. You haven't had the experience that someone else has had, but you can be sympathetic to them that they're having it.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I really struggle with is is finding sympathy for people and it's not experiential for me.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I don't think it's a particularly good thing. I think it's something that I need to learn or practice or whatever. But it is difficult when people do it. But if you can relate to what someone else is saying, if you can relate to what someone else is going through because you've been through something, it's so much easier to feel empathy for them.
Yeah.
So I do find it sick when people can have that same level and they don't, when it's completely far removed, they've not been through anything like this, they're not in the same walk of life or anything.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good skill to have.
I think it's a good practice, right, to like try to be less judgmental when you meet someone and say they're like acting in whatever way. It's like trying to think, okay, what may have been. We've got a fly in the room. It's the negative having the door open. It's like what might have happened to have caused them to be that way, and like if you knew that maybe they had whatever trauma they'd experienced between the ages of 0 to 7 when they're like a little kid.
Yeah.
Like you could feel some. You could feel the empathy for like how they act now, and maybe give them a little bit more leeway. But at the same time, obviously, you got to have boundaries. You don't want someone completely taking the piss.
It's a good point. I suppose it was with all the mental health stuff that's been coming out, like the be kind stuff, and be like give people space or time.
Yeah.
And don't just be nasty to them. Yeah. That's relating back to the very first episode we had, is that the people that I just will not ever get are people online who spend their time either making fake accounts or trying to get at people.
Yeah, mate.
You're sad. I should feel empathy for you. Yeah. You're surely got something better to do with your time than that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, mate. Like, if you feel truly happy in yourself, right, then you're not. Most people I've come across who are like happy with themselves and how their lives are going, they're not throwing out abuse to other people. They're normally the people that are like promoting and bigging other people up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Or taking abuse.
Yeah. But they're not the person that's creating like fake accounts and trolling people online.
Imagine going to bed at night, looking at yourself in the mirror. You're doing your pre-bed routine. You're like, up today, what did I do? I made a fake account to badger someone online.
Yeah.
To make them feel like an idiot. They must feel. But then I think it's the same thing as watching binge watching something. Is that you probably just get to a point you're like, I don't care. Like you either don't think there's any reason not to. Say moral argument, like why not? There's nothing that's going to come of this. I'm just doing things.
Yeah.
That's why you have to, in some way, I feel, attach meaning to things you do or ways you act. Because otherwise you don't learn anything from anything. You're just sort of bobbing along this stream of just life.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is that's about, it comes back to like having morals, right? And a moral compass. And I think that's something like I don't know, it's something that some people develop naturally, or it's like they go through a process where they develop their morals and, you know, I'm this type of person and I don't do these sort of things or whatever. And in times gone by, I think like we had like more like tribal cultures. They used to go, like men especially used to go through like rites of passage, where like you'd like learn like almost like a warrior code, right? This is, you know, how we live. And you must have it with rugby, right? Where you will sit down at the beginning of the year and be like, oh, these are our principles for the
values,
year.
yeah. But it is a lot easier to live by those values, I imagine, if it's like life and death situations.
Yeah.
So for those people, they would have to live by those values, because if they didn't, they'd probably get outcasted from the tribe, sent to go and walk the jungle their own, and probably get eaten by a panther, yeah. or you know, torn to shreds by a silverback gorilla.
Or they'd find one of Joe Exotic's tigers and be able to eat for 3 weeks.
Or they'd find some kind of booby trap hitting them or getting killed in a fight if they didn't live by those values.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is like, well, I feel like it's on us, right? It's on you to create that code for yourself and live by it. Because like, if you're not living for something, like,
then what's the point?
Yeah, what's the purpose?
So are you saying about these rites of passages, you're pro initiations?
Yeah, I'm pro initiations. I'm not pro like the rugby initiations that we went through at Loughborough.
It's funny you say that. There wasn't.
Yeah, not at the time. Yeah,
at the time, it was
big proponent of it at the time. Almost. It's mad. We grow, mate. We change.
But there is something about that, and I was obviously very anti it when we first met.
Yeah, you were. Now you've changed.
Now I've changed. Now look at look how full circle we've gone. But I do feel there is something about everyone in the same team going through the same thing. So you know that when you're in that team, everyone's been through, and not like ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
But just something, doing something.
Yeah.
I don't see why. I actually don't see it as a particularly bad thing, and I think it's what I actually like about the Marines, and that's why it would be good to have some Marines on it to talk. Is the idea that the officers and the infantry have all gone through. Everyone who, if you're to be a Marine, you have to go through those 32 weeks basic training.
Yeah,
and you know that anyone, no matter what rank they are, if they're with you as a Royal Marine with a Green Beret, they've been through that.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's just an extended version, an extended rite of passage, so you know someone's up to it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose they would have like a moral code, right, that they live by. And I think that's like one of the things, it's like a practice for people, right? If they're not happy with how they're living their lives, or they're displaying characteristics you're not happy with, those things don't change. You've got to like set boundaries for yourself and like focus on actively changing them. It's not just going to like change itself.
Do you think people can fundamentally change?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
Because I'm still like, no, I do think they can. I do think they can, but it's
not easy.
Hard. Yeah, it isn't, and it very rarely happens. I think so. It rarely happens to the point where people could think that it's impossible or that it doesn't it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because people relapse. They go into the same. They can go very, very easily, as you and I probably both experienced. You can go back into the same negative thought patterns like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to stay out of them than it is to fall back into them.
Yeah.
And that's why vices are addictive. And a vice could be like, it doesn't have to be a physical thing you're doing. It could be like a mental cycle that you find yourself falling into.
Yeah, but it's, at the same time, it's like you can, like you change. I think people, in my experience, it's like when you try and do these like massive change where like, oh, I want to change this, or I want to change that. It's like a huge, like you said, it takes a lot of effort, like time and effort and energy. And we're living in like a super fast-paced world where we don't have that much time, effort, and energy to put into stuff. So it's like better off, like, right, okay, actually, I want to become healthier. What's like a little change I can make to start becoming a healthier human being, you know? And there can be like super simple stuff, like if you've got plenty of spare cash to buy, lying around, you can just do easy things. You can be like, right, I'm going to buy a water filter. I'm going to start buying like higher quality meat, and you just spend 30 minutes on Piper's Farm, you put an order in, and you just recur in order every single week, and it takes all the guesswork out of it. It's like someone messaged this week saying about habits for the phone, like talking about like for us to speak about like systems you've got in place to like help you get off your phone, because I think loads of people struggle with that, right? So one of the things that I do is like when I'm sat here at my desk, if I'm working, I'll put my phone just out of my eye line, and like if I'm waiting for a call, or I'm waiting for something to come in where I need to use my phone, I'll just put it on loud, but it'll be behind me, so I'm not looking at it.
Because that is half the temptation, is when it's there at arm's length, just to get it and have a look and have a scroll, and the scroll turns into 10 minutes on Instagram.
Yeah, and you're not even doing it consciously, like you're like scrolling or doing like whatever, or like checking all your messages, checking your emails, and it's like on autopilot, you're doing it without even really thinking about it. And then it's the same thing with like the negative thoughts when you're doing the box breathing. It's like you catch yourself. What the fuck am I looking at my phone? I'm supposed to be like doing my emails or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just put it out of sight, and obviously if you need, expecting a call or whatever, just put it on loud, and then that stops you from just picking it up absentmindedly.
And man, that's and I suppose you could say they're all small incremental steps to the greater task.
Yeah.
Which is changing. I want to change this about myself. I want to do this differently. And it takes time, and you probably are going to slip back at some point into a negative, but then it's recorrecting that and adjusting back onto the same course. Because the thing also is, I'd say with like the filter and the meat and all these examples, is you are putting you're putting money into it.
Yeah.
So you feel more of a reason, I suppose, to do it.
Yeah, you got skin in the game.
Yeah, you haven't got any skin in the game, then it's very easy to say, oh well, I'm not. There's no reason for me not to do this.
Well, that's what I always say to someone come to me, like I want to get in better shape, or I want to lose weight, I want to get a six-pack or whatever. I'd be like, hire a nutritionist, hire a personal trainer, and pay for 10 weeks up front. And oh no, that's too. Well, how badly do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Is it a big priority for you? Like, do you really want to do it? Well, spend the money. And then when you spend the money, like, I'm spending, say personal trainers, I don't know, 40 quid a session. You buy 10 sessions to go, they might do your deal 350 quid or whatever. I've just spent 350 quid. That 10 weeks, I guarantee the food you're eating and all the other stuff you're doing, you will lean on the side of like, not having that packet of crisps or whatever, because you're like, well, I've just dished out 350 quid because I want to get a six pack, and then that spills over into the rest of your life. And going one more thing is like coming back those relapses, and this is why I think it's so important for like doing planning and like writing shit down, is because like if you're like, okay, I want to get fit, I want to get healthy or whatever, and you're like, right, okay, I'm going to make a commitment to this, and you write this down and you think about the characteristic of the type of person that would do that, like, oh, this person's determined, this person is disciplined, just as two examples of things you might write down, and you get up every morning and you've stuck that on your desk and you look at that and you're like, right,
refresher.
I'm going to be disciplined and determined every that day, or like say you get a packet of crisps and you sit down at your desk and you're just about to eat that after lunch, you've got a piece of paper on the desk saying I'm going to be disciplined, and you've signed it or whatever, you're more likely to put those back in the cupboard.
Yeah, man. 100%.
We're rocking in at just under an hour now. So do you want to
Yeah, we could wrap up there. Yeah,
I
reckon. Nah, man, that was
all good.
I totally agree with everything you just said.
Okay, sick. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks very much for listening.
Do you want to plug?
Yeah, so apenutrition.co.uk is my website. We sell health food and supplements. We got beef organ capsules. We got a load of other bits and pieces as well. Check it out. I've done a discount code for listeners to the podcast. It's AS10, so chuck that in at checkout. You get 10% off. And if you've got any questions, my Instagram is ape_nutrition.
Yeah, at Harry.Williams91. Any local businesses you want to plug? I haven't had a message yet, so still building.
Oh,
just slowly.
I've had a message, but
Have
for
you?
a few weeks. They want to do it in a few weeks.
All right, okay,
cool.
So that'll be that local business will be getting a shout in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But now, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you like the podcast, please give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, and a share. All that situation would be great. Cheers,
Thank you.
guys.
Cheers.
Nice one.